Greetings and welcome to week 2, unit 3 related to experiential learning. In the last unit, we understood some aspects of Merrill's first principles of instruction. And this unit, the expected outcome is to understand the features of Kolb's principles of experiential learning. Here, what is experiential learning? It is one instructional design theory. Experiential learning is a process where learners acquire knowledge and skills through direct experience, reflection, conceptualization, and application, fostering deeper understanding and personal growth. It's a cyclic process. It is apparently there are four stages through which a learner keeps going through repeatedly until he gets the proper understanding of whatever he is trying to learn. This approach emphasizes learning as a dynamic, cyclical process that fosters deep understanding, critical thinking, and personal development. These are all the goals of any learning. And this particular experiential learning theory addresses all these aspects. It is presents a mechanism by which all these are met. It integrates concrete experiences with reflective observation and experimentation in real world or simulated contexts. Okay. Now, the main proponents of experiential learning, they start way back with John Dewey. He advocated learning through experience and reflection as foundational to education. This is back in early part of the 20th century. It is enunciated in his book Democracy and Education, 1916. Then Kurt Lewin developed the experiential learning cycle and action research, emphasizing learning through action and reflection. Then Jean Piaget focused on cognitive development via active discovery and assimilation of experiences. Please note the two aspects, active discovery and assimilation of experiences. Then David Kolb formalized the experiential learning theory, we will keep referring to as ELT, and the learning cycle emphasizing concrete experience, reflection, conceptualization, and experimentation. So these four stages cycle has been formally proposed in 1984. There is a book called Experiential Learning by him, but then it got further evolved by Alice Y. Kolb and David A. Kolb, the experiential educator principles and practices of experiential learning, which is published in 2017. I would strongly recommend that those of you who would like to practice this method of instruction should get access to this book and study. And there is one basic nature of experiential learning. It is dynamic nature of learning. It is dynamic process. Learning is a dynamic process. So what does it mean? It refers to the continuous and evolving process through which individuals acquire, adapt, and apply knowledge and skills. It's a continuous process. It is not static. You receive some information, remember that and directly apply it. It is never that way. So, key aspects of dynamic nature of learning: continuous change. Learning is not static, it evolves as new information and experiences influence understanding. Whatever we have learned earlier, when you have new experiences, the earlier learning seems to get somewhat modified, sometimes incrementally, sometimes drastically. Then another feature of dynamic nature of learning, adaptation. Learners adjust their thinking and behavior based on new insights, feedback, and environments. I'm sure you can relate to that in one's life. As new experiences come, we keep adjusting our thinking about the subject itself or the context in which we are working, and our view of the others will keep continuously changing, and we adapt to that. Then another feature is interaction. Learning involves interacting with the different contexts, people, and materials, which shape and reshape our understanding. So, it is not just a kind of a static knowledge that we receive and try to understand that, but we keep interacting in different contexts, different people, and materials as well. Then there is a personalization. As learners bring unique perspectives and prior knowledge, learning experiences are tailored to individual needs and styles. As no two individuals are identical, so each one goes through different experiences, sometimes of the same subject that you are trying to learn. So finally, based on your experiences, your interaction with the knowledge, your individual style and needs will be different. That means there is a personalization of learning. Then reflection is another feature. Ongoing reflection on experiences helps deepen understanding and encourages critical thinking. That is, whatever you learn, you keep thinking about it. You keep reflecting on that. Reflection involves, for example, when you apply whatever you have learned to a new situation, there appears to be some gap that we are not very clear. Then you keep correspondingly keep adjusting your learning, or whatever knowledge or skill that you have, you will keep adjusting depending on that is practically the critical thinking. Okay. So educational approaches, by embracing these characteristics, can be more responsive and effective in facilitating meaningful learning experiences. I'm sure you would have heard about meaningful learning, higher orders of thinking. These are the words that are being used by in various policies, as well as I'm sure various speakers you would have heard. But how do you actually bring in that meaningful learning experiences? This is one way of doing it. There could be other ways of doing it. Experiential learning, by recognizing the dynamic nature of learning, provides a one particular path. So ELT of Kolb, you can say 2017, there are 6 characteristics of that. Learning as a process emphasizes continuous learning where knowledge is constantly modified through experience. That is, it's a process, it's an ongoing process. It is not just complete after once you listen to something that is presented by the teacher, it doesn't stop there. Your understanding at that time will keep getting modified as you keep engaging with that knowledge through various means. And then the second feature, integration of experience, combines concrete experiences, reflective observation, and abstract conceptualization and active experimentation in a learning cycle. So you integrate, by going through this, you integrate your experience. Then another feature of that is holistic approach. It involves cognitive, emotional, and environmental experiences to foster comprehensive learning. This is one thing, if you recall, the New Education Policy 2020 keeps using the word holistic approach. What is meant by holistic approach? It should involve cognitive, emotional, and environmental experiences into that. It has to integrate all of them. And, and that approach can be taken by following, rather designing your instruction in the context of ELT. Adaptability encourages adaptation to change, promoting flexibility and creativity through experiential activities. If you are constantly modifying your way of thinking, your level of knowledge as based on the experiences, and you are adjusting yourself, that means you are adapting to that. That experience has to be given by the teacher to the students. Then a personal reflection focuses on learners reflecting on their experiences critically to enhance understanding and personal growth. And personal reflection is a very important stage wherein your new experience, you are comparing with all your past experiences and past knowledge, and then you are readjusting yourself and you are debating whether what you are acquiring new is compatible with that. If not, what is it that needs to be adjusted? You will. That is a kind of reflection. That is when your knowledge becomes meaningful. Then the sixth feature is learner-centric. It tailors the experiences to meet the diverse needs and learning cycles of individuals. So the experiences, whatever experience a student undergoes, he kind of looks at it based on his previous experience as well as previous knowledge. So he's evolving his own style, evolving adjusting his things to meet his own personal needs. So to that extent, it becomes learner-centric. So these are 6 principles actually guide the design of instructional activities that foster engagement, reflection, and application, aligning with the dynamic nature of learning. Now, to what extent we can use these principles to plan your instruction will depend on the experience and beliefs of the instructor. But it is good to know that here is one theory that can facilitate meaningful learning and leads to personal development, which are all the goals of any learning process. Let us look at these principles one by one. Principle of learning is a process. You may find that some of the statements are phrases that we are repeatedly using, because each one of these principles seem to be fostering the same set of activities. That's why you will find some statements and phrases getting repeated at each phase. First thing is, learning is a process. highlights that effective learning is an active, contextual, ongoing cycle where learners continuously reflect, conceptualize, and experiment based on their experiences. So it is a process, it is an ongoing cycle where all the four stages are involved. It underscores that learning is not static but evolves through structured engagement with real world or simulated experiences, integrating reflection and the action for meaningful personal and professional development. So, what is it in for the instructor? Either you make the student engage with the real world, which in all subjects may not be possible, or it may be possible only in certain cases. The other one is we have today possibility of creating simulated experiences. So, which is implementable, okay, and the simulated experiences can also be continuously be adjusted by the instructor. That is, you make it more realistic or make it simple and make the student interact with that, and then you can and rather add more features to the experience based on which the learners will have to readjust themselves by experiencing it and reflecting on that. They have to continuously modify their views. So key aspects of learning as a process: active and constructive. Learning involves actively engaging with the experiences. As we said, experience can be with real world or simulated world. Reflecting on them and constructing new understanding rather than passively receiving information. Because if you are passively receiving information, the only outcome of that can be reproducing that passively received information. But you have to actively process that information and construct your own understanding of the situation. It is cyclical in nature, that we have already mentioned. Learning occurs through continuous cycle of concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. Here again, let us, because this keeps coming often, first you experience in a concrete manner something, either in the real world or in simulated world. Then you reflective, whatever that experience that has come to you at the first interaction, you reflect on that. Based on that, now you come to certain conclusion, or you conceptualize what has happened, abstract conceptualization. And then what you do, based on that, you plan the next engagement with that either real world or simulated world. And then again experience that. So by going through that, you are continuously improving your understanding. So in other words, learners repeatedly move through these stages, which reinforce and deepen understanding. Then other aspects include personalized and contextual. The process is unique to each learner, influenced by their prior experiences, context, and individual differences. Learning adapts as learners navigate through the cycle. Okay, it keeps becoming more and more personal as you keep going through these cycles repeatedly. Then dynamic and interconnected. The stages of interconnected progress in learning depends on the fluid movement between experiences and reflection, leading to the development of new insights and skills. So you're just again repeating the same thing. It is dynamic and interconnected. And then it is developmental also. As learners traverse this cycle, they develop increasingly sophisticated ways of understanding and applying knowledge, facilitating growth over time. Then we look at the principle of integration of experience. What is the principle of integration of experience? Integration of experience involves actively synthesizing and connecting diverse experiences, knowledge, and reflections to build a coherent, holistic understanding. So, as you have diverse experiences with the same real world or simulated world, you are now you are synthesizing your experiences and trying to get a total picture. This process promotes critical thinking, practical application, and meaningful learning that extends beyond isolated experiences, fostering ongoing personal and professional development. Okay, that is the principle of integration of experience. So the instructor will have to plan the instruction in such a way that they are going through the stage of integrating experiences. Key aspects of this: synthesizing multiple experiences. Okay, so you have to create multiple experiences. That is the idea. The other one is connecting theory and practice. Effective learning links theoretical knowledge with practical experience, allowing learners to see how concepts apply in real world contexts. Integration helps in translating abstract ideas into concrete actions and vice versa. Let me say something. Most of the times in engineering, we model external world initially that things happen in a linear fashion. All our mathematical models that we look at is initially we make it uh, make it linear. But when you interact with either a simulated or a real world, you will find things are not exactly linear, and many times they're heavily nonlinear as well. So you have to go back and explore how do you connect this theory that you had or you were taught to the practice. That means you will personally realize that linearity can only be used to a limited extent. You should not overuse it and go beyond a certain value for the results to be valid. Okay, so that will be the kind of experience that a student has to go through to convince himself at what aspect or what part of the world you can treat it as linear and what you cannot. Okay, so that is part of the integration of experience. Another one is developing coherent understanding. It again, whatever I've stated just now as an example, it also applies here. Now you have a coherent understanding, namely linearity is up to this point, not beyond this point, kind of thing. So this synthesis aids in constructing mental models that guide future thinking and action. Because mistakes have been done about this kind of linearity and nonlinearity and the boundaries within which the models can be applied. At a large scale, people have made mistakes in all kinds of areas. We will not go through that, but that is because the planners who are very well equipped still made the mistake of to what extent their models can be made use of. Enhancing critical thinking and problem solving. This is another aspect of the same thing. By linking various experiences, learners can analyze complex situations more effectively, leading to innovative solutions. Integration promotes higher order thinking by encouraging learners to see connections across disciplines and contexts. So, critical thinking would mean that that there are different ways of looking at things, different aspects of something, and something that I make an assumption under one view is not necessarily valid if somebody else looks at it from other view. So the problem solving will have to now look at it. How do you address these two, which are two different ways of doing that, and coming out with an innovative solution that meets these two views is the truly result of both critical thinking and problem solving. Fostering personal and professional growth. Obviously, when you go through this integration of experience, you will you not only grow as a person, but you also grow professionally. Okay. Adaptability refers to the capacity of learners and educators to remain flexible and responsive, adjusting their understanding and actions in the face of new experiences and changing circumstances, thereby fostering resilience, innovation, and continuous development. That is the holistic approach. So, here the key aspects of this is integration of multiple dimensions. Learning involves not just acquiring facts and skills, but also engaging emotions, attitudes, and values. It recognizes that cognitive understanding and emotional engagement and social interaction are interconnected and essential for meaningful learning. Unfortunately, most of our practices in a situation where the curriculum is overloaded, time is not given at all to integrate our experiences, or you cannot address all the dimensions involved in learning. Engagement of the whole person, which is another way of saying the same thing, facilitates active participation of the learner's mind, emotions, and actions, incorporates reflection, practice, and emotional experiences to foster deeper learning. Other aspects of holistic approach, recognition of context and environment, because our learning is contextual always. Because you have learned in one context, it may or may not exactly be applicable in another context. Once you realize our learning is contextual, or recognize that, then possibly you will be much faster in adapting to the new environment wherever you are. And this generally happens for students when they go from institute to first job or from one job to another. You can face a lot of problems because you don't realize, you did not experience this, that everything is contextual and environmental. Fostering personal and social growth supports development of values, attitudes, and interpersonal skills alongside technical competencies. Encourages learners to develop self-awareness, empathy, and ethical reasoning. See, while everybody accepts that self-awareness, empathy, and ethical reasoning, you are not going to address each one of them by a separate exercise or separate courses like that. So, in the limited time that we have, if we plan instruction in such a way that they do go through these experiences which involve development of self-awareness or empathy, and that is the way instruction needs to be planned. Of course, this requires a lot of experience by the teacher, and maybe together you have to work how to make this happen in the limited time that is always available to both the student and the teacher. Promoting well-rounded development by addressing multiple aspects of the learner, the holistic approach aims to cultivate reflective and adaptable individuals capable of contributing meaningfully to society. Holistic approach is always desirable, and that is what even the new education policy, it keeps on repeating the word, that saying that education should be holistic. Principles of adaptability, it emphasizes that learning is an evolving process where individuals adjust, modify, and refine their understanding and actions in response to new experiences, insights, and changing environments. Features of adaptability: flexible learning process. Learners are encouraged to remain open to new experiences and willing to alter their perspectives, strategies, and approaches based on ongoing feedback and reflection. Responding to change. As the environment or circumstances change, learners modify their skills and understanding to stay relevant and effective. This flexibility supports resilience and lifelong learning. Further, encouraging innovation and creativity. It leads to personal growth and development, creating a learning culture. Because if your experiences are continuously changing, you are learning through that. And it creates a learning culture, which is also another requirement. One of the requirements of the NBA, one goal that you have to meet, which is a program outcome, is called lifelong learning. That means you have to create that learning culture that you need to continuously learn. Okay. Then finally, principle of personal reflection. Personal reflection is the intentional process of examining and making sense of one's experiences to gain insights, foster self-awareness, and promote ongoing personal and professional development. It transforms learning from mere activity into meaningful growth. And again, features of this: critical self-assessment. When you are reflecting, you examine your experiences, question what happened, why it happened, what they can learn from it. This process involves honest evaluation of strengths, weaknesses, emotions, and reactions. That's why personal reflection is key to personal growth as well as professional growth. Deep processing of experiences. Your experiences you are not processing superficially, but you are deep processing by reflection. Linking experience to learning. Personal reflection helps connect practical experiences with theoretical knowledge, enriching understanding. It facilitates the integration of new insights into one's existing models and future actions. Okay, you have all these phases in ELT, and as you can see, many features are common across these phases. So if you are going through these phases, it will make sure that that you get your learning improves and you get the benefit of all these experiences. So here is an example of instructional unit. It is related to solar power system design and testing. Learning as a process, that is the first one that we said. Students engage in a cyclic process. They design the system. That is a concrete experience. Reflect on their design. That is reflective observation. Develop theoretical models. That is abstract conceptualization. And build a prototype and test. That is active experimentation. So what happened is, this is not the design and building is not complete in one cycle. So you keep repeating. After active experimentation, you will find that things have to be modified, and then again you modify the design and again reflect on your new design and develop modified theoretical model for that, and again modify the prototype and test. That is the learning as a process. Integration of experience. Students incorporate hands-on activities such as assembling solar panels, wiring and system configuration, while integrating classroom theory about PV cells, electrical circuits and power management. They synthesize these experiences into cohesive system design. Okay, that is integration of experience. See, it is like this. The what do you call, first part, learning as a process, whatever you are doing through that and whatever you are doing through the integration of experience, these are not sequential. Okay, if you do these things right, these two are addressed simultaneously. Holistic approach. The unit addresses technical skills, circuit design, power calculations, cognitive understanding, that is solar energy principles, emotional aspects, sustainability motivation, and social components, collaborating on a team project. Reflective discussions include societal impacts of renewable energy. That is a holistic approach. Adaptability. Students are encouraged to adapt their design based on real-world factors like available materials, environmental conditions, and economic constraints. They modify their prototypes and strategies throughout the project as they learn from testing results. Then personal reflection. After each testing phase, students maintain reflective journals, documenting what worked, difficulties faced, and lessons learned. This fosters self-awareness, critical thinking, and continuous improvement. Then learner-centric. Students choose specific design goals based on their interests, maximizing efficiency, minimizing cost, or designing for a specific community. Design can be different. So each group of students or each student will uh, will modify will have their own design goals depending on their interests. They work in teams, adopting leadership roles and personal responsibilities, with instructors acting as facilitators. That makes it learner centric. So the outcome of this unit of doing such an exercise, you call it a learning unit or a project. By the end of this unit, students will have experienced the entire learning process, designing, building, testing, reflecting, and refining. All the process is going through in a real world engineering context, demonstrating the holistic, adaptive, and active nature of experiential learning. I hope you have a picture of this instruction design theory, and it looks very daunting to have this many aspects built into every exercise, but to the extent these principles are addressed and implemented, the quality of learning of the students will certainly get enhanced. And in the next unit, we'll attempt to understand principles of Gagney's 9 events of instruction. So in this week, we are addressing 3 instructional design theories. One is principles of Merrill, and then ELT, that's what we have done, and Gagne's 9 events of instruction. You can learn from each one of them and see how you can build your own instruction design model. Thank you for your attention.